Hey, good afternoon. It's Sabine. It is the 22nd of March, and after publishing a community post this morning about the early summer signs of barley being in the air, ready in time for Passover, the storks having returned to Israel, and the fig trees putting forth leaves, just like Matthew 24:33 speaks of, I received a comment from a sister, Cheryl, and I'm going to increase it a little bit or enlarge it a little bit. Hello, Sabine. Can you please do a short video on the alignment that is happening with the 5 planets and the Sun that lines up in Pisces, in Aries, on the 23rd? It seems like Uranus and Venus are going to be in Aries, and the Sun, Moon, and Jupiter, and possibly Mercury are going to be in Pisces, the fish, the 153 fish. I had a vision almost 2 years ago that I see China attacking Taiwan on my television set. And a commentator is saying, and the United States has gotten involved. I've been thinking that China was going to attack Taiwan for the last 2 years, but about a month ago, God opened that same vision back up for me and let me see further into it. And I'm watching it happen on my television set on Ramadan, which begins tomorrow evening. The onset of Ramadan is connected to the sighting of the new moon. So just like we are waiting for the sighting of the new moon, the Muslim people are also. And remember that on the Babylonian calendar, their New Year's celebration and the casting of lots, referred to in the book of Esther by Haman, was also placed on the first day of Nisan, so the first day after the sighting of the new moon. So after the vision is over, it takes me into what I believe is the next day because it becomes daylight outside, and I open my garage door, step out into my garage, opening the outside garage door, stepping off, into the grass. To the right of my driveway, look up into the sky, and I see a small, bright, white light getting brighter and brighter and brighter until my knees start to collapse from underneath me. But my body never hits the ground. I'm thinking that we get raptured the morning after night I see China attacking Taiwan and the United States getting involved on Ramadan. I'm thinking it may be the first day of Ramadan. I'm so excited. I want to share this with all our brothers and sisters, but I don't even know how to do a YouTube video. So at first I thought of just sending her a private video with the celestial alignments because I had already included that in. But I decided to make it a public video because I think it is interesting for all of us. So we have different groups looking at the potential sighting of the new moon, the start of Nisan, according to the lunisolar calendar, the biblical calendar. In the ancient Babylonian practice, Nisan 1 was used for the casting of lots for the determination of the fate of kings and nations. That is most likely also the day that Haman cast the lots to annihilate the Jews. And he chose Pisces because he presumed that was a negative astrological sign for the Jews. So he used the perspective of divination and witchcraft. We are looking at the biblical astronomy from a different perspective, of course. But the Muslim believers also tie the onset of Ramadan to the sighting of the new moon. So we have the tiger nations of, I believe, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea in the mounting threats toward war, basically on part of the aggression of China. And then we have the enemy signaling toward that scenario, especially in the Ipago-2, alluding to the Jesuit art of war strategy. So the devil's playbook is being played out in the Far East. You can read more about the Jesuit art of war strategy over here. And so both us as watching people for the Lord, the onset of the month of Nisan, the ancient Babylonian practice, in addition to the Muslims waiting for the sighting of the new moon, and potentially also the geopolitical onset of an upscaling of war and conflict as early warning signs towards world war could start on or after the sighting of the new moon. Of course, this is speculation, so this will be a combination of like data and my understanding. I'm going to go quickly through the context of the question and then onwards to the celestial sign. Ramadan expected March 22 after the sighting of the new moon over Mecca. Of course, that could also be one day later. One of the sources about Haman using the Babylonian New Year festival on Nisan 1 to determine the fate of the Jews by the casting of lots. There are more sources in the article. The enemy signaling in the iPad goat of the casting of lots, the goat coming forward from the celestial silver gate, the Chinese character with his attack dogs waiting to be loosed. So here we have the reference to the celestial silver gate with the Pleiades, the alignment with the prince coming through the belt stars, and the picture of judgment in Taurus, the bull, and then the allusion to China letting their guard dogs or attack dogs loose on the territories they want to make their own. And we know, of course, they're also going to be involved in the invasion and occupation, ultimately, of the US. 4 Asian tigers alluded to in the iPad goat, the female character patterned after the sister of Kim Jong-un. Sun Tzu, believe she's called in the animation, tracking back to the Art of War of the Jesuits, based on the author I just referenced. So the peace protests against nuclear war are suddenly halted in the context of a whale carcass, the sign of Jonah. Remember that Jonah's fate was also determined by the casting of lots, and death knocking on her shoulder and everything falling flat, in short. And then the release of a new viral strain. Everything is like projected in that short pre-war scene. So you can, if you'd like, take the time to go through these sources to read a little bit more about the enemy signaling toward Purim, New Year, the sign of Jonah, and the attack on the Asian tigers can be found over here. And then at the end of the article, you can find the rabbinical deception and the calendar juggling and the manipulation done both by Haman in his days and the religious authorities later. So on to the celestial signs. Tonight, the potential sighting of the new moon, and if it is sighted, it will be at the Delta Star of Pisces, the door of the fish constellation, but the chances are slim with only 0.7% visibility. The next day, the moon will traverse to the ribbon of the upright fish in Pisces, March 23rd. Indeed, just like our sister shared in her comment, on the border of Pisces, and then the moon will enter into the constellation of the Lamb Aries. The upright fish denotes the believers with a heavenly calling and is aligned with the wedding knot star Elrisha in the south, with the star Cap and the constellation Cassiopeia, denoting the branch, the ruling branch, and Elrisha in the southernmost point where the two ribbons are tied to Cetus the sea monster. And that is the, going back to the iPad goat animation, that is the carcass of the whale where this enemy scene takes place we just talked about, and that is tied to the sign of Jonah. So that star, the wedding knot star, reflects the fish's current bound state to the world, the flesh, the enemy, until we are fully redeemed and cut free by the constellation Aries flanking Pisces, because the lamb or the ram holds his front legs over these bands, and while the enemy wants to subdue us and pull us down, he is has the reins, right? The Lord has the reins. He covers and upholds us, and one day he's going to cut us free. So that is the promise of the constellation that Haman thought to be an ominous constellation. It is actually the constellation of redemption and revelation of the bride. The star cup in the constellation Queen Cassiopeia denotes the future co-rulership of overcomers in Christ. You can read more about that over here if you'd like. Right after the moon passes the upright fish's ribbon, she will enter the throne room of the Lamb and leave the celestial area of the sea for dry land. So it's like the Lord, like the lighting house standing on the shore. And then she will meet up with Venus, the beloved, positioned in the inner court of Aries. And Venus is aligned with the star Hamal, the gentle and merciful sheep, pointing to the Lord and his sacrifice on our behalf. The planet Uranus is also stationed there, associated with Enoch, and Uranus, the kingdom of heaven, coming. So the moon will first conjoin with Venus and then occult Uranus. And then the entire scene, of course, brings us to the throne room scene in Revelation 4:1, where the beloved John falls down to his face as he sees the Lord above him with fiery eyes, but also with hair white as wool, just like the Lamb. The association with the fulfillment of the great catch that our sister also referred to, the ready-made banquet of fish and bread on a fire of coals on the shore after they pulled in the great catch. The backdrop of the Lamb, Aries, resonates with the Lord as the lighthouse and the opening scene of Revelation 4:1. So let us take a look at the equinox heavens. I'm going to increase that video a little bit. It has no commentary, but I will give some commentary as the video moves forward. So it starts on the 21st. We see the moon conjoining with Neptune, then onwards to the sun, the Echad phase we had yesterday at the conjunction of the moon, bright, and the sun. Mercury, difficult to see, like in this case, the wicked servant Haman. We talked about that yesterday. The moon passing Mercury, coming out of the constellation Cetus. So this is also reminiscent of the scene we just saw, the enemy signaling. And then moving toward Jupiter. So this could be the potential sighting of the new moon, but at 0.7%, that chance is not that big. So let's continue to the conjunction with Jupiter. Vesta is nearby. So the moon passes Jupiter. Vesta is right there. And then the moon traverses the band, the cords of love of the horizontal fish. And she moves toward the upright fish, the believers with a heavenly calling. And then she traverses that band at the wedding star, El Risha, the wedding knot star. So this is where the bands of the fish are tied to Cetus, our bound state. It's also aligning with Kaf in Cassiopeia the Queen, because we're already seated in high places. So we see the book of Esther playing out of the bride, the king, and the evil steward. And the moon overcoming, liberating her fellow believers, the downtrodden and the upright, entering into the throne room of the Lamb, to then meet first with Venus and then with Uranus. So let us continue to Look up and prayerfully watch together. Thank you for watching. Much love.